Hey guys, it's OKB, and I'm actually on a subscriber's account who's lending me his account to figure out what Susanoo Shisui actually is with his breakthroughs. Actually, the guy who lent me his account says that some of the abilities are bugged. I'm not really sure which one they are. I think Susanoo Shisui is just so powerful that I don't think I really noticed the bug at all. And there's so many different combinations you can throw in. And I'm gonna make like 5 different teams out of it. 2 sort of whaley, 2 more free to play, and then 1 sort of in the middle. All right, and I'm just gonna kind of show you guys how you might be able to use Susanoo Shisui. I also have training grounds footage, so you guys can skip to that if you want to see. Keep in mind the account here it's not very stacked. It's kind of balanced. So Susanoo Shisui is actually technically supposed to be better than what you're seeing in the footage, but as you can see later, it's still pretty good. I'm gonna cut part of the training grounds footage too, because another part was just me getting killed by someone who's twice my power. Okay, Susanoo Shisui, how to use them? Well, pretty much, if I put it this way, we're gonna put some arena teams. So first of all, people who have Susanoo Shisui breakthroughs, they're usually whales, right? But there's also some people who spend a lot just for this one ninja, and maybe they have a couple other random ninjas lying around, but they don't really have any support ninjas. I'll make a team for that too, but Susanoo Shisui can stand on its own, and if I'm to be honest, he is so powerful that we couldn't even really test him in arena because people just kept dying from his standard attacks. Like I literally go to arena, go to battle. I fight against 6-Fast Naruto, some Edo Madaras, some Sage Kabutos, even combination Gengetsu, Edo Sasori combinations, whatever. And they just kept dying to Susanoo Shisui, and I just don't use any mysteries. And they just keep dying even though they use all the mysteries they want. And that's because Shisui's abilities are so OP. I mean, you really have to build your team to anti-Shisui so that you don't get killed by Shisui. And one of the biggest reasons is because Shisui has this ability which gives you an extra standard attack whenever he receives a debuff. Similar to how 6 passive pain works. It's the bottom Y passive. And you can reduce people's critical rate too. And if you're using, I don't think he has Orochimaru in here. Yeah, he doesn't. But if you're a whale, Greninja Orochimaru or that Jiraiya, Toad's Chance Jiraiya, that's probably a team you can throw in as pretty much a meta team. And anything with Shisui is pretty much a meta at the moment. He's as dominant as Obito was when Obito first came out, except I believe he's even more dominant than Obito. But you can still die against Obito because Obito is still really good. It's just that Shisui gives you an edge, maybe like a 10% edge over your opponent if they're using Obito. It also does depend on your support, of course. Okay, so what are some teams? How would you use him? First of all, you can just put him in arena, make sure he has enough defense, and let everything run. So maybe we're going to think very, very simple, right? If you guys are from back then, Chiriku is a good one, just plain old defense. This is if you're lazy, right? You can also run Lightning Main to root some defense here, or you can run something like a Katsuki Kakuzu here. I think that would be really good because Susanoo Shisui really just it's a drill. It's literally a power drill that's slicing through your opponents, and you can literally just like if your opponent does a couple standard attacks that deals some sort of ignition, sleep, or something. Even if you don't mean to do it, if it hits Shisui might kill your opponent's line. Like I've had times when Shisui killed 2 lines of ninjas, and it was just like 1 guy left over, and it was just ridiculously overpowered. So yeah, Akazu Kishin Kakuzu is definitely good here, especially if your opponent might be able to kill, some of your ninja. Maybe they'll run something like Greninja or Orochimaru and have the first hit, and maybe they'll kill some ninjas. All right, Katsuki Kishin Kakuzu down here is a very simple, easy fix. It gives a little extra resistance. Ninjutsu revives everyone else. That's pretty good. That's a free-to-play version, right? You could just put them here. But this team that my subscriber made here is actually quite nice with Edo Madara. And yes, you can use him with Edo Madara. So I've had some questions asked about whether it's Minato's better or Edo Madara's better. and Miyato with the barrier, of course. And I think either one works. I think Miyato actually might be a little bit better, just simply because you're going to have a lot of defense in the beginning, and Shisui does so much damage that if you give him a lot of defense in the beginning, it'll feel like he's immortal, like the perfect ninja almost, right? There's always going to be something better in the future, but it's just he has so much offense and he's immune to debuffs. Rather than he's immune to debuffs, he reflects debuffs similar to how Edo Nagato does. The only ones that affect him will be something like Rinnegan Sasuke's Fear. But Rinnegan Sasuke's Fear doesn't stop his chase. Rinnegan Sasuke's Standard will stop his chase, but if you manage to hit Rinnegan Sasuke with the standard attack, you might be able to kill him as long as you're able to chase. Let's see. Shisui has 2 standard attacks, right? So if Rinnegan Sasuke is one of the ways you can stop people from standard attacking you to death with Shisui. So that's definitely going to be played a lot this game. But I think with this, Discouragement. We haven't even tried Discouragement. But yeah, I think +2 is generally better just for the extra ignition right in the beginning. Okay, so I guess one of the ways you can stop Shisui's for first is chase, right? His chase gives him a lot of extra damage. Some people might also put the Y skill on Shisui for his chase, so that gives attack and ninjutsu whenever he's hit, similar to how Kushina works. But the chase here, repulse high, ignition, that gives a lot of attack and ninjutsu. That's 15%. That's higher than even Kimono Shisui, and increase the number of chases each round up to 8 is insane. You're probably not going to get to 8. You're probably going to kill your opponent before that even happens. But, that's good for Infinite Illusions if you want to try something like that. Let's see. Shisui attack and ninjutsu increased by 15%. Yeah, I mean, he has 2 chases. So that's 30% technically. But he does have a +2 passive ability. So it's first passive, right? He has a high chance of evading standard attacks, 50% chance of evading standard attacks, and then a regular chase. In the beginning of each round, he reduces his mystery cooldown by 2, and explosive mode, which actually reduces which actually increases the number of chases you can do. The Y as well, like either one, I didn't really feel a difference in Training Grounds when I switched between them, because it just, the overwhelming power of Shisui is more in how much standard attacks he keeps getting, which is actually, let's see, the Y skill on the very bottom passive. Gives an extra standard attack whenever he gets the debuff on there. In fact, a funny little thing you guys can try to do here is, if for some reason Summer Kurenai is good, if for some reason you want to use a team and you have Summer Kurenai, and this is very free to play, you can actually use Summer Kurenai on yourself. And what I mean by that is, Kurenai is one of the ninjas you can hit yourself with, and if you can immobilize yourself and get an extra standard attack from that, right? Now technically you could probably also throw in like Ramen Naruto, or Killer Bee, or any other ninja here to give you an extra standard attack, but I just thought it was a funny thing to mention here, because hey, she does have a status reflect, and you might want that in your team for whatever reason. Maybe you're running Jiraiya and you want an extra control with Summer Kurenai, and because Jiraiya doesn't have super armor. He gets super armor once he does a standard attack, but that's not a very good super armor. And then he is not immune to status at all. So Summer Kurenai might be helpful there if you are going free to play. If you're mostly free to play, but then you went and bought Shisui, right? That's something you could do. Back to Edo Madara. Yeah, Edo Madara is sort of a. So there's like 2 ideas I could think of here. So one of them is actually to summon chakra. So let's see. You'll do something like Earth Protection. And actually we did this in Training Grounds first, and it was pretty strong as a blitz, but it had a lot of risks, which I started losing against, or I started getting killed a lot faster in Training Grounds against higher power opponents when there were some risks, because having the 40% defensive resistance increase is generally better. But yeah, this is Pose of Duel and stuff. That's pretty powerful. That's an extra 30% on top of the skill, right? So that's easy easy 60% increase in ninjutsu and add all the standard attacks. It's nice. But I found that outside of arena, this and bottom force, defensive resistance increase, was better simply because you could make everyone survive longer. And yeah, Edo Hashirama here with his breakthroughs reduces people's attacking ninjutsus, so that's pretty useful there, and you want them to hit him a couple times before he dies. So yeah, that was useful. And Edo Madara as well. So what Edo Madara does is he removes buffs and shields, right? Well, oftentimes your opponent's side will have something like Great Ninja or Jimaru, and then Great Ninja or Jimaru will hit Edo Madara, and then Edo Madara will remove Great Ninja or Jimaru's buff in round 1, the defensive resistance one. But sometimes you don't want that to happen, and you can do something like this with shields that he doesn't die, or he doesn't activate the barrier straight away, and then you can activate your chakra wall. And since Edo Madara is probably going to be hit somehow, you can activate his mystery and cause fright and fear. And this one's aimed, so you can technically hit somebody and try to chase with Susanoo Shisui. So Susanoo Shisui is unmissable and you can chase with that, but oftentimes people have either chase dodge or super armor. And that's often the case when we do 6-pass Naruto and Rinnegan. If you're fighting against 6-pass Naruto and Rinnegan Sasuke, oftentimes, sometimes you'll come across some earth mains with super armor too. You can't suppress that. You can't suppress that unless you have Edo Madara, but then they might run a chase dodge wherever Edo Madara is hitting. So I've run into some problems trying to get extra chases out of Susanoo Shisui, so you can basically ignite and increase his attack and ninjutsu for round 2. Edo Madara is pretty good here because he suppresses super armor, but it's still kind of chancy. And honestly, I found better results just doing this. Just having him survive longer, having the barrier constantly changing again and again. Because I think you're able to change the barrier around 1, 2, and 3. Great Ninja Orochimaru gives the buffs in round 1, 2, and 3, but they give defensive resistance in round 1, attack and ninjutsu in round 2, I think. Well, round 3, I think it was just Hashirama. But you can remove that buff again once you activate the barrier 2 times. So, yeah, that's pretty important to know. Okay, so yeah, Minato or Edo Madara in this sort of a team. I mean, these are basically the talents you might want to go with if you want to do this sort of a team. Let's go more free to play now. Let's go for. Let's say you have nothing except Susanoo Shisui. What should you do here? Funny idea is Anbu Itachi. And I know people forget about him, but he does give an extra standard attack, which is pretty useful for his chase, right? He also has a perfect chase, like he does high repulse. Also, fun fact to mention, Anbu Itachi is getting Anbu Itachi has breakthroughs in China, which means we're probably going to get him later on, and you could probably see some teams like Anbu Itachi, Shisui, and then whatever else. Maybe like we'll run Root with Midnight Blade as our main character. And then the last one, I mean, Edo Itachi technically works. So I was defeated one time against a 6-pass Naruto. That probably was because this account wasn't very stacked. It wasn't stacked enough. But it does still bother me that... we can't run an Edo Itachi. Huh? It still does bother me that I lost to Naruto. Even though he was 100k higher power, even though I wasn't as stacked on this account, it still bothered me that the Naruto was able to defeat my Shisui. So you do maybe want to run some counters against that. So one might be something like Rinnegan Sasuke, for example. Rinnegan Sasuke is perfect against another Shisui. Like, it really is, because Shisui doesn't actually suppress super armor, unlike Kimono Shisui. His standard attack, some ignition and stuff, we might be able to stop him with fear in round 1, and if that happens, then maybe you'll have more scaling than your opponent, and maybe you'll have more damage overall. So Rinnegan Sasuke is still going to be in play here. Probably not with Anbu Itachi, but definitely with Rinnegan Sasuke. When the meta becomes this, and when people start getting a lot of Susanoo Shisuis with breakthroughs, Rinnegan Sasuke, I think, is going to be there. One of the ninjas you'll probably throw in space-time as we play rock, paper, scissors against each other. Okay. But yeah, Rinnegan Sasuke is free to play, so technically that could work. Even though he does cost a lot, but okay. So we talked about Katsuki and Kakuzu. Anbu Itachi. Okay, so yeah, another one is Ronin Sasuke, which is was given for free. He was given for free 2 times. Half of them was given for free in Fireworks, another half somewhere else, I forgot where. But yeah, you could do something like this. You know, just giving him an extra standard attack does pretty well. You don't really need Ronin Sasuke to give you to remove debuffs and stuff, but that could work. Right, there is an exception, I think. Cancel that debuff. Let's take a look. I think Shisui's bottom passive here. Ooh. Shisui's bottom passive. So right now the Y skill on the bottom passive is like Edo Nagato's reflect debuffs. But if you do a +2, you only reflect the first 3 debuffs of each round, and then you reduce the resistance, which you might actually want to do sometimes if you're slower than your opponent, because then you can hit harder whenever they deal any sort of status effect to you. So you can, like, whenever if your opponent is faster than you, and maybe you'll be faster in round 2, but because of Susanoo Shisui's abilities, but if you're slower and they're going to hit you a whole bunch of times, you could try to reduce the resistance a lot by hitting here. And in fact, you can probably throw this in with Minato, Edo Minato, so reduce defensive resistance by 8%. So if you're fighting against another Shisui, for example, and they hit your own Shisui, and you can put Minato right behind Shisui, and you can reduce the resistance by 8% and what do you say? Defense resist by 8%. Oh, right, and the critical, and then but Minato might actually. Oh, you know what? Minato's a terrible idea. Now that I think about it, because he actually gives your opponent's Shisui another attack. But if you're fighting anything else except Shisui, Minato's a great idea, right? So yeah, if you're fighting anything except Shisui, having Minato behind you would reduce defensive resistance by 8% each time they try to do an area hit. And that'll really help as you scale and get a lot of standard attacks. You might be able to even kill most of the team in round 1. That's happened actually to me for in training grounds, though I guess it was against people who were slightly lower power, but still, it was extremely powerful. In arena, it just absolutely destroys. All right, so yeah, we could probably run something like that. Okay, another thing to mention at the beginning of even rounds. So the passive at the beginning of even rounds reduce Shisui mystery cooldown by 2, and all ninjas in your lineup will enter explosive mode. So you can actually activate. Let's see. So if you're fighting against another Edo Madara, let's start with that. Yeah. Oftentimes, I actually saw quite a few Edo Madaras as support, and throwing something like this. Shisui with Edo Madara. So if you hit Edo Madara, he actually increases your mystery cooldown by 1. Whoever hits him first, at least. Except for anyone who causes pure ninjutsu damage, because it doesn't really hit Edo Madara because he's immune to that. But I've had times where I hit Edo Madara, and I had my cooldown increased by 1, and became 2 rounds mystery cooldown. But thanks to Shisui's first ability, he actually reduces his mystery cooldown by 2 in even rounds, which basically means almost every mystery increase ninja will not work on Shisui. Now you could try to do something like Kimimaro, for example. So Kimimaro actually does increase someone's mystery cooldown by 2 rounds, and that is actually a pretty big deal. So you can run something like Kimimaro here, Howling Kimimaro, and you have like 1 round cooldown, right? Kimimaro increase that to 2. And then in round 2, he'll -1 because it's like round 2, and then he'll get another 2. His cooldown will go down by another 2 because of Shisui's own abilities, but then maybe Edo Madara is here, and then so if you want to actually stop your opponent from getting the mystery off, if you're fighting another Shisui and you're trying to fight against another opponent, you could probably run something like this, so that the Shisui will hit Edo Madara, and then you can use Kimimaro to hit your opponent's Kimono Shisui. And on top of that, actually, you can even use your Kimono. You can actually use Kimimaro after, or actually right before your opponent uses their standard attacks. You can use Kimimaro. That depends on who's faster. If you're faster, it is hard to tell, but if you're faster, then you can use your standard attacks and then use your mystery, and then their standard attacks will have 30% less damage, which is awesome. And I'll probably run something like this, to be honest, so that because Shisui has breakthroughs, so you want Shisui to hit Shisui, and if you're slower, then their critical rate goes down, and your first attack will deal probably a critical rate, which is pretty awesome, right? Probably something like this, but people are pretty tricky when it comes to Shisui, so they might play around here and there. They might put Shisui here instead, and it's going to be a psychological war in space-time when you do fight it out. Okay, yeah, you know, one ninja I think that people kind of forget about, so he didn't actually have it, but if you want to play the mystery war against Shisui, so you're going to deal more damage because you have them, because Shisui doesn't actually suppress super armor, so if the rest of your team dies thanks to your opponent's Shisui, you might be able to stop your opponent from gaining any attack in ninjutsu simply from stopping their mystery attack, because their mystery attack is the one that suppresses super armor, right? So if you only let them use their chase, their attacks, then they won't be able to use their chase, and their chase will basically stops them from scaling. Okay, so yeah, you want to. It's a lot of things to think about, but yeah, this is a team you could probably throw in. This is a mock team, probably not the best team ever. You probably can put this up here. But yeah, the one ninja I think you can take this to the extreme in is probably Kimono Itachi, and people forget about him, but Kimono Itachi, well, first of all, changes the barrier, right? Kimono Itachi changes the barrier, increases ninjutsu by 30%, which is not that much, but he stops people from attacking when they have extra chakra. And if you give them a lot of extra chakra, because Kimono Itachi does that, then first you might be able to stop their standard attack. On top of that, his mystery does also increase their mystery cooldown by 2, which is pretty awesome. But you do need to get your chakra, so you probably want to run fire main to get the chakra, or earth main to get the chakra. Fire main with a status reflect maybe, just to be safe, so you don't get controlled right away. You can run something like Kimono Itachi and Howling Kimimaro, and maybe you'll be able to win against your opponent's Kimono Shisui, as long as you're stacked, of course. Okay, so those are some extreme ideas, but I think those should work in a space-time battle where you're playing rock, paper, scissors. I for Kimono, okay. Yeah, something like, so the only other thing that I think would go against Shisui might be Obito, like Greninja Obito, removing them from the field, and that would be a pretty big deal. Though, if you're fighting against another Shisui, chances are Obito will die, because Shisui does so much more damage. Obito doesn't actually do any status effects, though. What's a good one that doesn't... So Earthmain is great for the extra defense. Edomata is down here. You probably don't want to run Greninja Orochimaru, because Greninja Orochimaru gives Shisui an extra standard attack thanks to the chase. Also, if Greninja Orochimaru is in the same line as Shisui will be able to get like extra standard attack 5 times because Minato causes tag, and that's just a huge deal in this meta. So maybe, because Edomata does cause immobilize, so that's a minus against another Shisui. Notice how I'm just thinking about fighting another Shisui, because this is going to be the next thing. I'm not even thinking about Obito right now because of how powerful this is. Reserve Soul Tsunade might do well here. Yeah. Even the other Tsunade too, because she does have twice as much health. So, being able to revive Obito and then using Shisui to kill off the rest of the team. Maybe you want to use a Wind Main here. Just Wind Main. Honestly, Wind Main honestly could just work here. And reset everything in case... Obito already has the ability to reset his own mystery. But you should be able to get chakra. So getting chakra, you can either drain with Obito's standard attack, I guess. And then you can use your main to do it. Your opponent will have to try to seal off both areas to stop you from using Greninja Obito. If your opponent is using Shisui, they're gonna have to use their mystery on Obito, and then you can use your mystery on them, and which means you're going to be able to use your mystery again and again and again in round 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's my plan with this sort of a team. Maybe with Wind Main, maybe with Fire Main, maybe with Earth Main. Okay, that's more free to play because Reserve Soul Tsunade is technically free. But if you don't really have that, I mean, just the usual stuff on Rin should work. You can also stop standard attacks. Well, you don't stop standard attacks. You lower the amount of damage with any of those barriers. Well, Kimimara is one, right? Kimimara is the one that gives that barrier. Rider Jiraiya could do that too. Because Rider Jiraiya increases the chase damage, right? So technically, if you can probably throw in like Rider Jiraiya here, so he has the lowest chance of getting hit. And then someone with super armor here, and then maybe you can increase the chase damage, and then you can have your Shisui deal a lot of chase. You know, that's a lot of ideas here. For the whales, definitely though, there's a lot of rock paper scissors. Green Ninja Orochimaru is probably not a good idea in the long run. Edomara is probably still better, simply just because you don't want Orochimaru summoning Minato, which gives your opponent so many extra standard attacks. So yeah, Edomara is definitely up there. And Edomara will also anti-Orochimaru, right? So yeah, Green Ninja Orochimaru actually is going to go down. There's also Tsunade still here. Could be good. Yeah, just look for special effect ninjas. Okay, yeah, Ashura, one of the teams that one of my subscribers made was actually with Ashura, and I actually did it with Ashura, and that was actually quite powerful. So this is the team. I think Edomata just to increase everyone's attack. So Ashura technically has evasion. Evasion increased by 30% each time he chases, which is pretty nice. Though it probably doesn't work too well against Shisui, because he doesn't really get his chase, but he's increasing the number of chases you can get, which is pretty powerful with Shisui. And this is kind of like the lower pulse, I believe. Lower pulse was for the standard attack on this, and then we have higher pulse, which is helping out Shisui, and also he's increasing the number of chases the Earth Main has, which is pretty nice. All right, yeah, this is sort of a team against someone stronger than you. So what I found out is I thought maybe, just having Shisui here is fine because he's stacked. Problem was that this team was not very stacked, so I had to set up this way. This is sort of a setup if your team is not that stacked. If your team is pretty stacked, you could probably put him here instead and just do a box formation here, and that's pretty simple. But I'm sure for the tactics, my subscriber put them this way. And Edomata's on here because he can suppress super armor, and we're trying to hit a different line. Yeah, and then the Ashura hits a random person. But Edomata usually a lot more people put position ones in the middle, and so we're trying to suppress super armor in case they have super armor. Because if we're fighting another Edomata, for example, they might get super armor after they use their mystery. Edomata no longer has a level 2 super armor. So yeah, that's the deal. Okay, on top of that, so yeah, in terms of support, Shisui can stand alone. Just create for your support. Just make sure he survives first of all. So Earth Main alone should be fine for most teams. And then you can do some weird tactics with like Sage Kabuto, increasing the mystery cooldown, or Edomata. Edomata is actually quite nice here. Increasing the number of chases here is honestly very, very nice because you can deal a lot of extra standard attacks if you're getting hit a lot with some ignition or something like that. Okay, yeah. I think that should be it for now. There's just way too much to talk about with Shisui. So this is sort of an introduction to how to use Shisui based on what I've done in testing. They may change the abilities a little bit, or maybe they'll fix the bugs. I'm not really sure what the bug is, though, because it seemed to work perfectly fine for me. So maybe they already fixed it. But yeah, okay. So teams like this, just, Edomata is great. Rinnegan Sasuke is awesome. Those are probably my first top 2 supports against another Shisui. If you want to fight against a Shisui, throw in Rinnegan Sasuke, right? That's also going to be good against anyone who's using 6-pass Naruto, so that's kind of nice. And probably run Root. You can probably run Root with critical rate increase. And don't use Great Ninja Orochimaru if your server has a lot of Shisuis. Don't run Great Ninja Orochimaru, because that 100% defensive resistance can easily be removed by someone else's Edomata, which is often played a lot, and it's going to give Shisui a lot of attacks. Okay, I'm gonna go over and I'll try to record some arena fights. Like literally, it's just me killing everybody without even doing a single mystery. So it's gonna be hard for me to show you a lot of good ones, if any. And then we're gonna show you. I mean, I'll probably run an Infinite Illusion team. No, it didn't work out last time. We'll figure out an Infinite Illusion team next time. But we're gonna show you the training grounds and then some teams, and then that should be it. All right, guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments. And this was discussion of Susanoo, Shisui with breakthroughs. If you want to. I didn't talk too much about what every single ability does because we kind of did in the last video. But if you want, you can ask in the comments. All right, guys. So these are some of my teams that for whales, free to plays, just Anbu Itachi. Give an extra standard attack, extra offense, extra defense. Maybe even a barrier, Kimono Itachi. Unique tactics. Greninja Obito is so important here. If you're gonna fight against a Shisui, just throw in a Greninja Obito, right? And make sure you don't do too much status effects. Especially Fireman, because Fireman does a status effect regardless of what he does. So maybe you don't want to use Fireman here. All right, guys. That's it. And I'll see you in a couple seconds.
Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Sky high punching, yeah, we're gonna have it all. Cloud 9 jumping, happy, I got you, you got me. Engines running, we'll be taking all the dawn. Treasure hunting, glory, I got you, you got me. Dragons at the gate, they won't stop us getting to the top. Whoa, flying into space like a rocket, never giving up. No, I never give up. I was all alone when I started, always been the same. Now you're here, the journey's uncharted, everything will change. You know we rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Thunder crashing as we're breaking down the walls. Lightning flashing, lucky, I got you, you got me. Rainbow crossing as we're heading for the sun. Ain't no stopping, ready, I got you, you got me. Dragons at the gate, they won't stop us getting to the top. Whoa, flying into space like a rocket, never giving up. I was all alone when I started, always been the same. Now you're here, the journey's uncharted, everything will change. You know we rule the world, you know we rule the world. Yeah, yeah. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Yeah, yeah. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Stars up high will guide us home. You and I, it's time to take the throne. Dragons at the gate, they won't stop us getting to the top. Whoa, flying into space like a rocket, never giving up. No, I never give up. I was all alone when I started, always been the same. Now you're here, the journey's uncharted, everything will change. You know we rule the world, you know we rule the world. Hey, hey. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world. Rule the world, you know we rule the world.
Sometimes it feels like I'm just walking on an endless road, like I got somewhere to go. Sometimes I'm feeling scared, but I don't wanna walk alone. You're the hands I wanna hold, 'cause you are everything to me, babe. I don't wanna see you hurt, you should know your worth. You are everything I need, babe. I don't wanna see you frown, I wanna let you down, 'cause it's only you, no one compares to you, no. I'll keep fighting and I'll never let you go. Whoa. It's only you, no one compares to you, no. Let me love you and I'll never let you go. Whoa. Don't confess it, you know. Let me love you, and I'll never let you go. Whoa. Yeah, it's only you. Yeah, it's only you. Don't confess it, you know. Let me love you, and I'll never let you go. It's only you. Don't confess it, you know. I'll keep fighting, and I'll never let you go. It's only you. Don't confess it, you know. Let me love you, and I'll never let you go.
Hey, what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? I have an open invitation, but you're telling me go get lost. I don't wanna see your face. Yeah, what the hell? So why don't we stay out till the morning light? 'Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we're feeling right now. So Chardonnay, we camp in the parking lot. Leave traces of plastic cups. We're just doing what we're feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell? So what the hell? What are you waiting for now? You're pretending that you like somebody else, like you got boys waiting in line to take you home. But tell the truth, you'll spend the night alone. Let's be alone. So why don't we stay out till the morning light? 'Cause two wrongs can make a right. We're just doing what we're feeling right now. So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? Are you waiting? So what the hell? So what the hell? What are you waiting for now? What are you waiting for now? So what the hell? Why you hanging on the rooftop by yourself? Always waiting for the one, but I got news for you. I'm the best that you can get, so what the hell? Yeah, what the hell? So what the hell? I found so many doors that lead down to a mystery someone, running down corridors trying to find the same one that all of done. Now the silence is deafening, lost my breath with no fate to black, and decided that this is a reckoning and there's no turning back. Oh, I've lived to see you in so many lifetimes. Oh, and I lived to see love, but now is the right time. And I'll be here with you. Oh, when the sky begins to fall, there will be no mountain to toe. We can do it all. I'll be here with you. Repeating thoughts that keep going that I can't shake sometimes. When ticking clocks with 10 hands keep turning around inside my mind. And in the silence when
If it's silent in dismay, it won't break this feeling down. If I conquer this my way, I'd devour, I'd surround. If it hurts you just a little, then it heals you when it's done. Disappointment is the anchor, resolution is the sun. it's silent in dismay, it won't break this feeling down. If I conquered this my way, I'd devour, I'd surround. If it hurts you just a little, then it heals you when it's done. Disappointment is the anchor, resolution is the sun. With the